I'd like to open the public hearing on the 25-26 Code of Conduct. Would people please stand to pledge the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Turn it over to the superintendent for.
Good evening. Oh, just have to, before I start, apologize, I did not connect into the recording, so just. Turn down the sound. All right, and okay, so good evening. So this is the hearing, annual hearing for our code of conduct. So New York state law requires that every school board adopt and amend annually as necessary a code of conduct for the maintenance of school order on our school property, including school functions and school transportation, and shall govern the conduct of not only students, teachers, but other school personnel as well as visitors, and shall provide for the enforcement thereof. This is following the board policy stated in our policy number 3410, and that can be found in our board docs on our school website. It summarizes again the same, and also that the district will disseminate it according to the regulation. Key elements of the code of conduct are listed here. A few of the notable elements are student bill of rights and responsibilities, also those of our community partners. And what a lot of people know our code of conduct to be associated with most commonly is prohibited student conduct. So this gives an outline that informs our student disciplinary code, penalties, remediation. It states the due process rights of our students, their rights to alternative instruction, and how suspensions are disseminated according to regulation. We've also recently included the introduction and use of restorative practices, and there is also a section related to students with disabilities and their rights. It also does address DASA, the Dignity for All Students Act, and the related Crown Act is included. Just a history of code of conduct updates. Code of conduct updates, any significant changes other than minor changes such as dates or personnel related changes should be informed through stakeholder process and input. So just a little history, in 21-22, we added some language at the request of the board to include the introduction of restorative practices in order to build community and address behavior in a more restorative way as opposed to a punitive way. So we did include those changes in 21-22. In 22-23, we made updates to the dress code policy at the request of some high school parents and students. And during the time that I was high school principal, we had some conversation about the dress code being unfair in some ways, unfairly targeting female dress as opposed to male dress. And so we did take a look at that, as a lot of school districts did during this time. And so we sought input from parents and students to make the changes to the dress code that are more general and legally appropriate. So that was really the last significant change that was made to the policy. We also did during that year make updates to the Crown Act, which was mandated by law to include that into our codes of conduct. And that talks about different ethnic and racial groups and different types of hairstyles and or hair textures and the way students may wish to wear their hair that was considered possibly non-traditional or head coverings. So really trying to respect the diversity of students and the ethnic or racial backgrounds in the state. And so we did update that as well. For more information, you can find that in the full code of conduct, which is on our website. We do have some hard copies here as well. You can request a hard copy from the district clerk if you so wish. In 23-24, we made a minor update to prohibited dress to include bulletproof vests, body armor, and tactical gear, or any facsimile thereof, in the prohibited items under the dress code. During that time, we were finding in school districts across the nation that some people that were breaching schools and school shootings, and some who may have been students, were coming in dressed in body armor and bulletproof vests. And clearly, we would like to discourage that. So that was added, as in many school districts, during the 23-24 school year. Last year, we had no changes except for DASA coordinators. And then this year will be the same. There are no recommended changes to date or required to date. So the only changes in this document compared to last year are just updating the school year dates as well as our DASA coordinators to reflect our new principles for this year. So any other changes that might become necessary during the school year, we can request if necessary, stakeholder input, and or if there's a regulatory change, an addendum can be made during the upcoming school year, and then we would just distribute that as an addendum to the code of conduct until we can merge that into the document next year. Next steps would be, so we have our hearing today. So we do have a public comment period. What we have found is that we try to have comment by phone, email, and we have over the past few years added a survey, which some people have taken advantage of. We post the survey on the website. So Mrs. Eastman will, as the district clerk, will post that tomorrow. It's basically a one question survey that.
Yeah. Posted.
Oh, it is. Okay. So it is posted today and will be posted for the full comment period of 30 days, correct? So it'll be posted until right before our next regular board meeting. And it's basically one question, and it asks for any comments questions or recommendations to the document. If we do have any comments or recommendations, we would consider those and or bring them to the board. Or we may put those on hold for the next stakeholder session, if necessary for the next school year. So we do follow up and on the comments, and I would bring any of those comments to the board's attention before we have the board vote as an action to approve the code of conduct for this coming school year. That would be on the next regular meeting, August 13th. And that would allow us, the next day, we send our student parent handbooks to the printers. So it is required that we disseminate the code of conduct on the first day. And so we insert that into our student parent handbooks, and we hand those out to students on the first day of school. And at the high school level, Mr. Maury also has town meetings with all of each grade level, and will refer to the code of conduct as well to them there and offer any opportunities for questions to make sure that everybody understands the responsibilities. So that's it. I don't know if there's any questions from the public. I have no question. Yes.
Or thinking the survey?
Survey, or they can reach out to the building principals or myself or the district clerk.
So I'll have to work this out. And his point, I think, will oppose the hearing at the 6 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stop sharing. You're good on your end, Chief?
Yep. So now I would like to open the organization meeting, and we'll go right into the regular meeting as soon as the organizational is done, and it is 6:12. To start, I'm going to introduce your legal office to Martha Perkins, our newest member. To read right here. I'm Martha Perkins.
I'm Martha Perkins, solemnly swear.
I solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States.
I will support the Constitution of the United States,
The Constitution of the State of New York.
the Constitution of the State of New York,
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of board member
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of board
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Just. Step.
Stop.
Now I would like to request any nominations for the Board of Education president.
Am I allowed to speak?
Yes.
All right, so I've thought about what's important to me. And that's kind of my guiding light in terms of this year. And I think we have to continue to build trust. I think we have to make decisions as five, be independent in fact and appearance, be objective with quality data, structure our actions, choreograph our actions. I like the idea of being forward thinking. So give our folks a chance to succeed. Don't apply ourselves in a manner retroactively, give folks a chance to succeed. And use tact when dealing with all stakeholders, promote, encourage engagement. So I think that's really what I'm looking for. Not overly concerned about who fills the role. But right now, I'm gonna say that Jen, the fulfills the role best for me. For certain items that have come to, the climate survey being seen by all, I think that is something that is, I appreciate, I enjoy objectivity and data. So I would like to nominate Jack for president.
I don't have to accept that, right? No, and I don't mean to be rude, but I appreciate that very much, Tom. I don't feel that I have the time to commit to that role at this point in my life. Maybe in the summer I do, but, in 2 more months, I will not have the time to commit to that role, so thank you.
So you decline.
Are there any other nominations?
Think, yeah. I would nominate John just as someone who has sort of sat on the other side for many months. Just the way in which you handle both the, realness of the situation and you're like, kind of put a little bit of emotion into it because you realize who we're dealing with when it's the student body, but then you're also you seem very detailed and like you really do your homework, and I greatly appreciate that.
My only concern with John is 5% versus 8%.
You have a motion.
We do have a motion, but is there any other nominations?
I would nominate Ann as well. She knows the role, and I think it's true. Wow.
I think we all know where we're headed. Goals are.
I will second the nomination.
Okay, so since there is two, we need to do a roll call. So we're gonna do a roll call on everyone. So start right around the two, just go right around the two. So it is John, Tom.
So is there a second? Did we get a second for John? We don't need a
We
second.
don't need a second for that one. But since there's two, we just need to.
Okay.
Then that's where, so John or
Am I allowed to action?
John, who did you
yeah,
nominate?
you can ask questions. Stuff.
Okay.
I mean, stuff.
Yes, I'm just curious of your reasoning.
Well, kind of like asking a question. I think she does an excellent job actually running the meeting, which is the biggest part of what this job is to run the meeting.
Yeah.
I also worry I don't have the time, same way to Jen said. And not big on battling out the things that people ask me to do, so it's kind of unfair, but, not very good at that, so, but I'd be tempted to say the same thing she did, but I didn't have time. But I think Ann does an absolutely excellent job running the meeting. My biggest,
Are
my
you
biggest.
declining your nomination?
No, I'm not. My biggest reason I tend to think, and is just that, my concern is that I think she's gotten a lot of blowback from the community because she's sitting in that chair.
Mhm.
Not because she's made any different decisions than the rest of us, not because she takes any different approach than the rest of us, because she's sitting in that chair. And I think she's handled it incredibly well, but it's not very fair to her to always be the one receiving all that blowback. When the five of us are making decisions, and there are decisions, we all should help them. So I feel for her in that. And in that way, I think someone else might be a good thing. But just from a functional standpoint of keeping it going, which is really the most important thing, I think she does a really good job. I don't think I could do that.
She can take some blows.
She's taken a lot though, and we all can only take so many before we get the one that
So
breaks against that.
Unfortunate.
So, I think we all need to be cognizant of that if she's raising that chair.
I mean, that's partly why I chose to state our objectives and what we're trying to go for. Because I'm not as concerned about who it is in the seat. I just want to continue to move in a good direction that we're all happy.
And just to sort of piggyback on that, I do see my role as the moderator of this meeting. And the things that you're looking for, I think come from this entire body, not just from the person that sits in the moderator seat. It's actually many, many times,
It's harder
it's
to
hard
display that there.
because I don't get to talk first, you know what I mean?
You're focused on a
So I would
procedural.
see what people do, like which direction that the board, seeks to go in. And because of the position that I'm in, that's the direction that the board goes. It's not something that I personally am reflecting, saying, I want to do it this way. It's not that. It's when I see what four other people have said, and if there's more apparent, that's the direction that the conversation takes. So I try not to make an I statement, you know, in that time. So I do appreciate what you do.
And I think it's all of our responsibility to work towards the objectives that.
Absolutely.
But then there's that procedural item that I would be terrible at. You know, that, just like procedurally, I want to think strategically and big picture. And so I respect that role, but I know it's not.
But that's what brings all of the conversation to the table, is that those individual perspectives come together and we have the ability to talk about them and understand that even though we don't come down exactly in the same spot on every single item, our overarching desire is to improve the school and the programs for students and all of the other stuff. That's been my guiding. And yes, there are some times where it's not comfortable, but I try very hard to understand that it's the city that we're talking to and try not to say, that's how I'm but it is sometimes.
I think with like some, you're still new, but everyone that has a role is a leader in the community. So I think that knock to the chin, you personally will only be reduced as John continues to grow and show Jen, her role, and myself and mine, and you're coming on board. So I think the structure is there, the team is there. Somebody still has to deal with the procedural stuff. So I'm fine with that, as long as we're clear with what we're trying to do strategically, I'm okay.
Yeah, oh, I think we're ready.
Sorry.
I think we're ready.
Okay, John or Ann? Tom?
Oh, you want it, I think. Do you want it? You don't really want it. You don't want it. I would suck at it. Yeah, I'll vote for it.
Yeah, I think after discussion, I will vote for it as well.
Ann? I would like to. John?
I was going to vote for myself, but yeah, now I don't get shut out.
No,
Jen?
And
Okay, be it resolved, Ann Dunnigan is the president of the Board of Education. I think they've already done this. Well, to do your oath.
about to be vice president, John.
They do that. Right, so just end the vice president.
Who wants to be vice president?
John, buddy.
I solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the President of the Board of Education
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the President of the Board of Education according to the best of my ability. According to the best of my ability. Hand the meeting over to the president. I'd like to at this time, open the floor for nominations for the
I'll nominate Jen for this.
I'll nominate John.
Are there any other
Jen nominated John.
Right. After I
John
nominated
nominated
her.
Jen, and Jen
I was
nominated
going to
Jen.
nominate John anyway.
Why don't you flip a coin? Or who wants it more?
But so a little bit, what does the role entail? It's
The role, historically, in the time that I've been here, the vice president may take on some specific duties if that's something that they choose to do. It hasn't happened, I think, once. But most of the time, it's sort of, if I'm unable to do the agenda meeting, which try to get the vice president to be there. Sometimes both of us have been to those agenda meetings to do that, and in my absence.
Or if you would abstain.
If I have to abstain. As I asked you to do. My husband's still up for my daughter. That is something I definitely have.
right.
I'll say Jen because she's been here longer. Respect the tenure.
This is really difficult for me since I'm new. John,
Guess we want names, but. Come on, that's
She's gonna have to,
So you're asking me,
she's gonna say the
Oh,
answer
no.
to ask.
Ann's turn.
Dan's trying to do a flat.
split vote.
Oh, you're going around, so I don't get done. I did. May I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there, next year, if somebody were in the vice presidency, would care to take over? Is that something that would be interested about?
I think someone here has to be prepared to take over because we don't know how election's gonna go regardless.
I'm
Regardless.
I'm not sure that I would want to do that. Or, like I said, have the time to do that. It just
That's
doesn't,
why
I'm not sure that it would fit into my life at
Yes, like happens.
this point in my life. With my other commitments outside of here, with work and things.
John, is that something?
Yeah, I don't know how well it fits into my life either, but yeah, if people ask me to do it, I do it to the best of my ability. It's reality,
Then we have
the
to,
way I do
I
everything.
would like to support him.
We're going around, so I get to go for Jen next.
And vote for John.
So there were 2 for Jen and 3 for Jen.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you.
Yeah. That was. Right.
You mean for up here?
So I, John,
John.
go ahead.
Do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York. And I faithfully discharge the duties of Vice President of the Board of Education.
Then we can move on to the other appointments. Hopefully it will be easy to take us. Entertain a motion that the Board of Education approve the appointments of clerk of the board, Gina Eastman, district treasurer, Tina Beatty, deputy treasurer, Karen McGregor, tax collector, Susan Neal, and internal claims auditor, Susan Neal, effective July 1, 2025, June 30th, 2026.
So moved.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by this. Motion carries 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the appointments as presented effective July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2026 as per position of attorneys, insurance, and such in the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Jen,
Second.
second by John. Discussion or question? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the designations of official bank depository, Earl Bank, regular monthly meetings, superintendent, official newspaper, The Eagle, effective July 1, 2025 to June 30, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Entertain a motion to approve the following authorizations effective July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. Certified payroll, superintendent. To approve conferences and workshops, superintendent. Designation of signatures on checks, treasurer and business manager. Budget transfers on superintendent's approval, business manager, and apply for grants in aid, state and federal superintendent and business manager.
So moved.
John?
Second.
Second, by Jennifer. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the official underpaid fees bonds listed below, effective July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. District Treasurer Tina Beatty, Deputy Treasurer Karen McGregor, Central Treasurer Activity Funds Tina Beatty, Extra Classroom Activity Fund Faculty Auditor Susan Neal, and Extra Classroom Activity Fund Administrator Junior Senior High School.
So moved.
Motion by Don,
Second.
second by Jenny. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries 5-0. These three need to be separate. As long as there's. Does anybody wish to separate any of the items? Do them. Entertain a motion to approve the following. A, recommend the Board of Education readopt the policies and code of ethics that were effective during the 24-25 school year. That the Board of Education establish the mileage reimbursement rate set by the Internal Revenue Service, which is 70 cents a mile. Be it resolved that the Salem Central School District, location code 75307, hereby establishes the following as standard work days for elected and appointed officials and will report the following days work to New York State local employees retirement system based on the timekeeping system records for the record of activities maintained and submitted by these officials to the clerk of this body.
So moved.
By John,
Second.
second by Jeff. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain the Board of Education approve 25-26 Board of Education meeting days as presented.
So moved.
Second. I just had a question. I know we talked about changing one of the dates because of a concert. There was a note on there. Did we actually change the date? Was it
Yes,
the third?
instead of March 11th, I believe, which is a Wednesday, we decided to move it to the first.
Okay. So
Because there was going to be a concert
Instead.
on Tuesday also.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They keep the,
So the Pops concert will stay, yeah.
Right. Okay.
all those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried. Entertain a motion to appoint the following individuals to serve as members of the Committee on Special Education, the Committee on Preschool Education, and the 5 and 4 committee to the 25-26 school year. We have the three, include you. So, that's right, and as well, is the subcommittee on special education. So there are four: committee on special education, the subcommittee on special education, committee on preschool education, and the 501.
So,
Any questions? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried. Entertain a motion to approve the safety committee members effective July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2026 as presented.
so
Second.
Second by Jeff. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Carried. Entertain a motion to approve the professional learning plan committee members effective July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2026. As presented.
So moved.
Motion by Jen.
second,
Second by Don. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to approve the recommended adjunct pay rates as attached. And it was, that was, in the beginning.
so moved.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. Entertain a motion to delegate authority to the superintendent on the following items: for the sale and excising of school property, to appoint personnel on an emergency conditional appointment as necessary, certify payroll, approve attendance at conferences, conventions, workshops, etc. for all employees, apply for state, federal grants and aid, sign and file applications and certifications for federal funds, approve budget transfers of $15,000, execute annually written contracts, execute BOCES contracts, purchase and consult professional services, employ temporary, part-time, and substitute personnel, represent the district in matters pertaining to school breakfast, lunch, and milk programs, to act as the district's agent with regard to Salem Central School District participation in the National School Lunch and School Breakfast Special Milk Programs, and to enter into, on its behalf, all contracts and agreements associated with said participation, and appoint the commercial hearing officer.
So moved.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Ted.
I just want to quickly, just on the first item, just for the board to think about in the future, for sale and excising school property, we might want to put a massive dollar amount on that as well, similar to the transfers. Theoretically, the superintendent could sell the building and property without coming to the board anyway, so I'm not worried about you doing that. You're going to approve it, and just something to think about.
Well. Any other questions or concerns? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried 5-0. At this point, is that, we have finished? We're going to do that. We need to know the time for that. I'll be sure. 6:30. So we're actually moving into now the content of our regular monthly meetings. And I'd like to open up the floor for public comment. If there's anybody who would like to address the board.
I would.
Thank you.
For those of you who don't, I'm Tom Rogers. Last month, I attended the board meeting. It was very, impressed how things went. I read quite a bit. What I regretted when I got home is I didn't make comments. Very changed, and I still have not stated. As a Rotary representative, I was the president of the club last year, and now I'm heading like again for next year, maybe as the president. But what I wanted to express to the board is thank you for that, your cooperation and having it's a program, not only for Rotary, but for our school and our community. And I want to give you a couple of facts about that program. It started in 1969 with Rodney Jolly in exchange to come here. We've had a hunt when Gabby arrives this year from Brazil. She'll be the 110th student of this program. school, and it's both the inbound and the outbound exchange. And a couple facts, we've had 100, that would be 110, 65 of them have been inbounds from other countries. We have sent out 44 of our students. The inbounds have come from 21 different countries around the world. The outbounds have gone to 19. The favor countries, the inbounds, we have 6 students from Japan, 6 students from Switzerland, 6 students from Brazil, and other countries. And the outbounds, we've had 6 of them from Japan, 6 from Brazil. Some of those other countries are Finland, Australia, Austria, Spain, France, Belgium, Czechoslovakia, Russia, Chile. And it's out to Switzerland, Mexico, Australia. It's just a wide range. And the purpose of it is to, we're not promoting peace. You want to quote right, but the influence in our community, not only having a student in every school, it's also the host families that are hosting the student in their home. You have several teachers in the school that were exchanged. I was an exchange student. I brag when we go to any places in the district about schools, you go in and you look at their sports program, you come in our school and you look at the students that were exchanged students. And I'm the 5th one up there on the wall. I don't look like that anymore. Give me a little kid that went to Brazil for example. And it changed my mind. These exchange programs are significant for our school. They come in and influence students in the school, teachers. They give a snapshot of the world is for places. And the students that go out, that gap year that they have between graduation and college, often it's life-changing for them. They make decisions about their future. They've grown up. One of the things they tell both the inbounds and the outbounds was I worked with the district. This district runs from Vermont Board of Community Services. And this year we have about 30 inbounds and 30 outbounds that have been up this year. I work with all these students. Cindy, my wife, works as a safety officer. But when I tell them at the end of the year, I look at them and say, I remember you in September. You were a nervous little kid. And now you're a very confident young adult. We've learned how to speak up. We've learned how to have confidence in yourself. And when we get kids that went out, come back, I warn the parents that the child that's coming back is not the child itself. They are so much different. And we have these wonderful experiences with kids that are here. And we hear about the wonderful experiences throughout it. This whole talk is about thank you for cooperating with Rotary to do this because it is well worth it. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so, just wanted to take a few minutes, and I know, actually, so I just wanted to take a few minutes. I know the end of the school year was a whirlwind, and we did do our blueprint review of each of the priority areas and goals, and it was really going through a lot of the action items that we designated. But I think that we had some things going on towards the end of the year with budget, a few other things that really made the end of the year busy. I think there was some stress towards the end of the year in a variety of ways, but I really wanted to take a minute to fully acknowledge a lot of our highlights and our accomplishments. When I was compiling this list, I really felt like we accomplished a lot with a reduced budget, as you all may recall, I believe, that, over the past, few years, we've reduced the budget by over, I think, our expenses by over $2 million. When inflation has increased, significantly. And I went back, over the course of, since 2021, around the time when COVID hit, inflation, and, when you look at the inflationary factors, inflation is almost, about CPI, kind of depends on the time of the year you take it, but about 22%, increase, inflationary increase. That's just adding up the years. That's not compounding effect. And over the course of that same period of time, our budget from 2021 to this coming year's budget increased about 10%. So we have barely held on, I think, in some years. I think we've made significant strides in reorganizing and really making good use of what we have and putting systems in place. And I think that's a credit to our faculty and staff and our administration. And I just really want to take a minute just to review that and acknowledge it. So some of these things we have talked about, and, stop me, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I just have a few slides. Just taking a look at it a little differently, because I do really want to acknowledge so many of the positive things that happened this year, and really go out with that in mind. So again, really, always looking back to our mission, vision, and our strategic priorities. So, I know, Tom, you said, you want to make sure we're always going in the right direction. I feel like, this plan and the refresh that we did this year really helps make sure that we're staying the course. And so really, the highlights directly align to this to ensure and to give the board hopefully confidence that we as faculty and staff and administration are really staying true to the blueprint for excellence in our mission and vision. So I put these on here for anybody who might take a look at this and isn't familiar with our mission and vision. But I feel like this year we've really tried, as we've updated our brands and our image and how we're communicating out, really using our every student future ready tagline really helps us stay focused on our mission and vision. So really that's I think our end result is the student and future ready. And today, Katie and I were at a conference, and just a lot of talk about the future, the challenges that we're facing today, and AI and the advent of technology. And I was in one workshop and they talked about, whereas it was maybe a short time ago, it seems like in our lifetime that technological advances were occurring every 10 years, and then they were getting a little more frequent, maybe, a few years apart to even a few years ago. And now they're saying that every 6 weeks, there's a new advance, like in technology. And thinking about what that means for our students and education and helping us really stay focused. This mission is so important because we really need to look at not so much as being the givers of information, but really helping students being able to manage information that they're getting and develop skills to be future ready. We have no idea what jobs will be out there a year from now, let alone 5 or 10 years at this point. So really starting to take a different look at how we prepare students for the future. So as you know, our priority areas are supportive environment, academic success for all, community connection, And what I added in here for us administratively and our cabinet team is also we need to have, while we're focusing on these priority areas, operational and fiscal efficiency. It's very important. We've developed this long-range plan and we're very committed to delivering everything in these priority areas and really staying true to our sustainability and our plan that we've put together. And that will be a living and breathing, evolving with us, I think, each year as we develop the budget. But already we've been having multiple meetings and making sure really that we're continuing to focus on our systems and fiscal efficiency. So I just wanted to point out, and some of these things we've talked about before, but just our action supporting the supportive environment. And as you take a look at this, some of these things that we've talked about a little bit before, in some of our summaries, for our action items, but we do have a few things on here that I didn't touch upon. So, I think really looking at how we're building, and you'll see some of these overlapping, but, starting while we're honoring past traditions, starting some new traditions. So that back to school picnic was our second year. I started out just, hey, come and meet the new principals, Mr. Graney and Mrs. Record, but we really, working with the courthouse, thought like what a great community event to really support everybody and also just come together in a little mixer type of way. And so, I think, starting some new traditions as well are incredibly important. And although we're not able in the short term to sustain the student family engagement coordinator, I think it really set the foundation for a lot of what we can do and accomplish on behalf of our students and our families. And so we're looking at ways, Mr. Sullivan and Ms. Slavitt, who are elementary and high school counselors, are working on our guidance plan, which will include a lot of how do we engage students, social emotional learning, as well as building community within our community and among our greater community. So you see that in the community building circles. We also, I just wanted to point out, we talked a little bit, the board approved the professional learning plan, but focusing on also not only being supportive of our students, but our staff professionally and helping them grow as educators to sort of benefit our students and really making sure that everything we're asking of them, that they have support, not only in resources, but also in training. So that's something that we're looking at. We do a lot of that in summer. We had a little bit of a delay, but we this year opened up our K-8 STEAM lab. We now have a STEAM lab coordinator, Mrs. Ronhofer, and really have some great plans, not only to integrate that thematically in interdisciplinary ways with English language arts, math and science are a given, but also art. So very excited about really getting that in motion. The next one's cybersecurity pilot program. We talked a little bit about this in the fall, but we have benefited from being part of a consortium grant with some other schools in the region. And this gives us the ability to be on the cutting edge of cybersecurity and have funding that we otherwise would not be able to receive. So this is really huge for us because it allows us to be, again, staying up with technology in general for our students, but also making sure that all of our data is safe and our students are interacting in a way that is beneficial to them, but also protecting their privacy, protecting their data, protecting them, but also giving them the skills that they need. This is something that really is a big deal, and I'm not sure, it's kind of like not the fun and really exciting, snazzy bells and whistles and sparkly, but this is really a big deal for us. So I wanted to point that out. And Karen always likes when we get for stuff. So, yes, it's great. So, we developed our long-range analysis, our best of SWA showcase, and I think also really, it was a lot of work, but I think, being able to come to an agreement with our teachers union this year, we really worked together. I think it shows them support, improves morale. And something that's hot off the presses as well is that we have tentative agreement with La Sierra, the Service Employees Union. We'll talk a little bit more about it later, but the timeline. But really, it was a good year. And I think that will really set the tone moving forward for all of us as we're building community. And then finally, you know, our 235th commencement ceremony, we talked about the great tradition that we had with Rotary and the exchange students, but that's one piece of the longevity and 235 years of just amazing history and what we've brought here to the community and we've sustained and maintained. And so I'm excited that our long-range plan is in motion and we're going to be here. Hopefully there'll be 100 years that they'll be celebrating all of us someday that we helped keep it going. Academic success for all. So you'll see a lot of the previous supportive environment accomplishments, highlights. Also support academic success for all. In addition to those on the left that contribute also to academic success, we also successfully for the last year and this year, so we started last year, so over the course of 2 years, we completed this year series for professional development for our faculty and staff related to economically disadvantaged students. So over the years, the percentage of students that are economically disadvantaged has increased to 57%. It's significantly increased as in many communities, especially because of inflationary factors, COVID. There are a lot of effects that negatively impacted our community members financially. And so it changes, I think, how sometimes students can learn and their ability to succeed academically when they're worrying about food insecurity or other financial issues in the household. And so really looking how we can help students holistically, but also strategies for them academically as well is important. We have our reading coaches, that we funded over the past few years. And we are year 3 of our HMH into reading. And I did just want to briefly share with you the success that this is a combination of 3 years, especially this year, the teachers and elementary reading teachers, elementary grade level teachers, special education teachers, Mrs. Jones, Mr. Switzer, and Sue Stoya, they all work together to really plot a diagnostic testing schedule so that they can really start looking at data and utilizing the data. And we're starting to see progress, a lot of progress. And so this isn't necessarily everyone who's reading at grade level, but when you see 128% progress to annual typical growth, that students are growing, they're really at a solid pace. And it's huge, and a bulk of that is K-6, but we also are seeing the facts of just a couple of years in 7 and 8 as well, and same in math. So our investment in the curriculum, we've invested in a lot of professional development for our teachers over the past few years. We invested in a coach. And I know sometimes it seemed like maybe we should invest that money in other areas, but this is huge progress. And I'm hoping that we have not gotten New York State assessments back, but that's just one piece of, I think, the success. And so certainly it's something that we can compare ourselves to other schools in the region and the state when you look at New York State assessments, but this to me is important because, you know, we're able to monitor and see the growth and not just put all of our eggs into the one New York State assessment basket. So, really just so much credit to our teachers. They've taken on a lot with 2 new curriculums in 3 years. But it's starting to pay off. We're really seeing some nice growth in our students. And also, I don't want to bog you down with data, but there's also what's called stretch growth, where there's kind of having kind of really higher end goals beyond just grade level, and or you know, maybe a student's two grade levels below, so they're beyond their pace to get to the next reading level, so they're thus the stretch goal. So I think there was about 60 to 65% of students in that reading area, maybe close to 60 in math. So really, again, good work. And we're hoping to see a little more next year. We're tweaking the schedule for next year, and we'll talk about that in August. And finally, our anticipated graduation rate is 90%. That will be through August. So you do have the opportunity. New York State counts graduation rate through August. So if students, some students sometimes transfer in, or they're short credits and they need the summer to recover and make up all of the required credits to graduate. If for some reason that falls through, then we'll be at 88%, which is about what the state average. Well, that's usually the state target. The state average usually comes in around there. Sometimes it's a little on the lower end, but the target for New York State is 88%. This would be the highest since 2016, that 90%. 2016, it was 91%. So really proud of that. Again, Katie and I, and Will just compiled the New York State Regents results. Can't really get into them. That's called them, the data's embargoed until about October for us to share it specifically. But we need to calculate a score for what's called the APPR, the performance review. There's a performance score. And I think of all of our Regents exams together, the pass rate was 92%. It's amazing. Was it 10 exams? 10 exams. So amazing. Really, we've come a long way, especially since COVID. So just so proud of that. And I just really want to make sure that we're kind of doing some shout outs to everybody about these results. And so again, community connection, just a few additional blueprint for excellence or refresh. We added back in the communication service, a couple bumps in the road, but I think we're really starting to see that pay off, along with our brand guide. The addition of Parent Square, we're auditing our website just to bring it a little more current, up to date, along with the new communication service on what they recommend. And we'll be working on our communications plan this summer, and we'll plan out the whole year. So I have a few more things I think people will enjoy that will come out of that communications plan. And then, of course, we have our Best of SWA showcase that we rolled out. Mr. Moore did an amazing job as the captain of the showcase there. And we already have ideas for the next one for next year. I think it was very positive, not only for the vote, but I think it was just a positive reflection of everything that we have to offer here, along with what we show up at our open houses. But I really am excited about seeing over the next few years what this is going to turn into. And we're maintaining our culture and climate surveys. We try to be very reflective and really work at building community among not only our students, but faculty and staff, and really reaching out to collaboratively as much as we can. We have our electronic device survey that we just sent out to families as part of our new policy that's coming up. And as you know, we have the thought exchange in the fall for our blueprint refresh. And again, you know, I think we have graduation on there. I think it's one of the great moments of our community every year. It was unfortunate we couldn't have it outside on the front lawn this year because we always have so many more onlookers, but really something that is proof that we are meeting and achieving our goals that we're setting for our students. And operational fiscal efficiencies, this is the last piece. I want you to know that we're really mindful of, while we're achieving all these things, we're really trying to be mindful of sustainability and our long-range plan. And so as we create systems of efficiency, such as the communications, Parent Square, trying to make things easier for our faculty and staff, some of the curriculum that we've purchased. We're also have been working, again, not with shiny, sparkly bells and whistles, but getting our NYSERDA funding for our fleet electrification plan. Very important, no matter how we move forward, we need to have a plan that's going to maximize funding for a transition, whether it ends up being a full electrified fleet or a hybrid fleet. Those are some of the things that go on that really kind of are like super fun and you know, sparkly, that we want to do shout outs about, but very important. Again, along with our cybersecurity program, we had our organizational restructuring, and you know, I really think that faculty and staff have done an amazing job making the restructuring work and creating systems that are sustainable for us. Our building looks amazing. Our students are achieving. We're seeing academic growth. So it's been hard, but I do want people to know that it's paying off, and to stay with us and kind of give us, you know, give us a little grace and give us a chance to kind of really see what we can do over the next year or so. I think you're going to continue to see some really great results. And of course, we're all proud of our 8% supermajority passing the vote, our community coming together. We've got our $8.1 million capital project that is getting ready to start. We had a meeting today. We'll talk about that. And hot off the presses, just the past few weeks was our 5-year facilities plan, which I did share as an attachment with you. But I will also we're going to be, I think, making some plans with the facilities committee as well. So not everything we have been doing, of course, not all inclusive, but just really, again, highlights that I want to make sure that there's a lot of people that are working behind the scenes that are really doing a great job. And I know everybody sometimes has their priorities that they might personally want to see and focus on, but I really did want to just make sure that we're giving a shout out to our administrators and our faculty and staff and the cabinet for working in it. Things happen. That's all that I have in my report. Just a little highlights. I just wanted to.
If you see it all laid out like that, maybe as you were talking about, yes, we did all those things to see it all together. Maybe I see the success we get, and it's really, really, it's great.
I was thinking about graduation, you were mentioning it, what a testament to community.
Yes,
Like when
it
we had to
was.
move everything in, like how many just like people from the community were just like carrying stuff in and like helping to set up.
It was amazing. I think, you know, that we were having, I was probably more than everybody, a little mini freak out as I was driving here. Oh my God, it's raining. How could this happen? And, but, you know, when we got here, you know, I think we just made it happen, and it was an amazing testament to community. And I think, And I also want to say it's a testament to Paul and his crew, because I was talking to him on the phone, he was not here yet, and he had everybody coming early. They were already having it in progress, you know, we had so many people helping out, but yet it was organized, and, so and same with Zach Eastman, I mean, it was amazing, you know, that they moved in, they got ready, the sound, guy, I said, I went up to him and made sure that he's coming back next year. Because I said, please make sure you come back. But it was just amazing, and it is a testament to community, and very special, and I also think it is somewhat fitting of that class in a way, because nothing has been typical for them for many years. They've had to be resilient and flexible, and so I kind of chuckled because I thought, you know, if any group of kids this was gonna happen with, it seemed like it made sense with them, but they rolled with it. They were great, and it was amazing.
Can we go back to the second slide? I think it's the 4 key elements.
And priorities.
Yeah. Yeah, just like the major goals, and understanding that all these items flow up to those 4 goals. And I'm trying to think of, so much of what you do here has to do with simply seeing the results of the graduation and everyone jumping on board because they are on board and making it a great event. And that's just you sitting there and seeing that these things are happening and people are stepping in because they love this place. Something like fiscal efficiency, to me, I'm thinking about, all right, are we going into another year where the budget gap is over $1 million, or have we dialed it in? Or are we under $500,000? Those are things that I'm kind of looking out for, is going into next year, are we under $500,000? Or are we at 1.5? Or so that's something measurable that I look for. But in a supportive environment, all these things are, there's no question that circles training helps. There's no question that I think we are developing some really terrific kids, right? No question at all. But how do we say that? How do we say our kids are amazing? How do we provide proof or this ability to say we have such a strong environment, we're doing amazing things? We have individual achievements, right? Certain individuals are doing amazing things, a great graduating class. But I'm always just like looking for measurement, objectivity. And unfortunately, schools are hard. And so maybe it is simply saying the people, the community is responding to us in a positive way. Graduation's going off amazingly despite the challenges.
I think when you come to open house, when you come to the best of SWA events, when you come to concerts and plays and things, you see how wonderful our students are and the wonderful things that they can do. Even sporting events as well. So people do get to see that.
Once you see it across the board and you see it highly effective all over the place, and then the result at the end of the year. Yeah, it's not measurable, but you witness it.
Well, it is measurable though. I mean, you're measuring graduation, you're measuring success, and I think it's hard because our commodity is people, and what we're developing, and in a lot of our capital is human capital.
Yeah.
So personnel, we invest, and you don't necessarily always have dollars and cents out. We're not making a profit. So
No.
it's hard. So when I worked in the private sector, your profit was the golden egg, right? And so our commodity is our children, our people. And sometimes we don't ever fully realize what the outcome is, because it's not necessarily clear the minute they walk across the stage. Could be 5 years, it could be 10 years, it could be 20. We may never know. So, I think that we have to look at the good things we're doing, see them, feel them. I understand what you're saying about the fiscal efficiency, and you want to say, well, what is it going to be? I don't know. I don't know what inflation's going to be. I don't know if we're getting the title grants. If we don't get the title grants, it's $250,000 that we have to figure out.
We can
And that
explain
will-
variances.
That will create, well, we do have fund balance, but the bottom line is that creates a gap for next, like, so I don't know what that is. I don't know if I have students coming in, a student that's coming into the district, that's a residential student, it's gonna cost us $300,000. I don't know if I'm gonna have a family, a large family, that will cost us, a lot in services. And we're obligated to that, or we could have a family move out. Or we could have multiple families move out. I can't tell you that. I will never be able to tell you that with certainty. And no superintendent in any district can tell you that with certainty. And we're at the mercy of the state and federal government. We are at the mercy of the town and the zoning. There are so many things that can affect us.
Yeah.
But we have a plan. We are creating systems of things that we can control. So we've developed very efficient schedules, utilizing all of our staffing, faculty, all of those things we are doing. We are putting all those systems and controls in place, but I can't. And if I did promise you, then you should worry about that, because I
I mean,
can't.
there's like big gaps and small gaps, crazy gaps,
I can't,
reasonable gaps.
big gaps and small gaps. Some
They're
kids
good gaps.
can create a really big gap. And you know what? That's our responsibility to cover that.
And my comment about human capital, yeah, we won't know the result of our work for 20 years, these kids. But you know what that says to me is that constantly need to be communicating our effort to all stakeholder groups.
I think we are,
And I think we are, but again, it just reminds us of the value of communication.
yes.
Just
And
getting it out there.
I do think so. And I also would ask that, the board support the cabinet and the administration, because we have departments that are working with less staff than they had 4 or 5 years ago. We have less administrators. My priority and our priority has to be the students first. And, it's really hard sometimes. I know sometimes people want the photos and all of those things the same day. But we need to make sure that we're attending to everything, everyone, supporting the faculty, the staff, doing all of the things that we can for our students, and answering parent questions and emails and dealing with important matters, and getting back to people in a timely fashion. And sometimes that has to wait. We only can afford a person for 1 day a week. I actually ran into today at the conference, I ran into the director of communications for BOCES, for Cap Region BOCES, who's like Hannah's boss. And, we talked about, I said, I'm hoping that if all goes well, right, we were paying for a full year, then we'll be getting more aid back. And so that aid that we're getting back from a full year added, we could maybe get 2 days. But we have to understand what we get for 1 day a week during budget time. It's all about budget, the newsletter, all those things. We're not going to get a lot of other things. And so sometimes she'll say, okay, I'm going to take 1 day and I'm going to schedule all these things. I'm going to get it out there. Press releases. We'll have a strategy. But I feel a lot of pressure that that we're being judged on what we're putting out there as opposed to our work product, which are these amazing students.
I think the work that's being put out there is awesome. So, about that judgment.
No, it's not a judgment. I'm saying I feel pressure on the behalf of our team that, I want to make sure that people understand that we're putting out great kids.
Kids.
I was gonna, thank you for sharing that HMH data. But that is amazing. That is a kid's right? The average kid in the elementary school, or the eighth grade, whatever, was learning a year and a quarter, 28% of math, and a year and a quarter, it's not, say math first in reading, whatever order. I don't know, both, like, that's amazing. And if that's sustained year after year, those kids end up years ahead, right?
Well, the gaps
That's-
at least
Or,
are
or they
closing.
start behind, they end up
Right,
catching
they're
up.
closing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's nothing more important than that. I mean, that's saying the same kid from the start of the year to the end of the year made more progress than we reasonably should really concern. Maybe if, at least normally would expect. So, yeah, that's that. There's a ton of credit for that. Our kids deserve a ton of credit for that. They obviously applied themselves to get there. So, I don't think there's anything more important than that. That's what it's all about. So.
So more to come. I think it'll be a great year. Look forward to it.
Night.
There- I don't really have anything else unless you have any questions for me.
Does anybody wish to consent agenda? Entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 5-0. Now, our work, committee work, first, Peter's no longer with us, so we have our policy, finance, safety, and facilities.
What about negotiations?
We have successfully negotiated the contracts with Warren and Marcia. So at this point, negotiations have hibernated for a while.
That was easy.
And so that would be a very nice thing, I think, once that consistency takes over and everybody understands the contracts. Very much, finally, stand. So, Jen, would you like to consider policy?
Yeah, I'll continue with that.
I would like to rejoin the policy committee, take your seat on that, so
Okay,
together on that.
sure.
Marissa, do you have an interest in the finance?
But
You're looking for Madonna or the finance committee?
What?
Yeah.
So I can kick off the finance committee.
Got other jobs.
Great, I don't want to be on the safety committee.
Well, you're on the facilities, right?
You have the facilities, and you and I still have our board norms that.
I don't know, I don't want to be kicked off the finance committee. There's too much going on.
We have two, and I would like to find something that, Marissa's interested in.
Okay.
So we need to check it. And then unless anybody else wants to step up to the safety committee. Is anybody?
who's on, sorry, who's on what? Who's on first?
The safety committee is, so I'm just trying to gauge some interest.
Sure.
In what people are doing. The safety committee is just one representative
Got it, on the,
on that safety committee that we did earlier. We'll see that. So
I saw that, yeah. Okay.
Typically,
includes that.
because it's a faculty and so it's required by regulation to have a board member on there on this district safety committee. So we also have Needham, risk management. They're our consultant group that works with us. So they come and we have the group of people that we approved in the organizational meeting. But typically, we try to get that. We've done it as late as 4 o'clock, 3:30 or 4, but we have a fair amount of people that are staying after. So it's we need someone who would be able to be here to come at 4, 3:30 or 4.
Who's,
And then we keep it at 1 hour.
Peter was here.
okay, that's what I'm trying to get at. Okay.
We don't have anybody here who has been. I can't do it. The fire chief works with me and he's part of the committee and we can't both be on for work, so.
It's okay here.
With our group people, so it's you three. Someone.
I mean, logistically speaking, I could,
I mean, you have a lot, like you have your trainings,
Yeah.
your information.
yeah,
You know, I think those are great items for you.
agreed.
You know, as I can step into that safety committee slot.
Okay.
For me that time, unless that, if somebody had for our side. To be honest.
Burning passion. Burning
I
passion.
mean, I love to think of worst case scenarios. I do.
Let's be selfish.
That's why we're getting a fence at the courthouse.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
next year. Facilities committee will continue to be busy and have the.
Yes, we need it.
Yes, we have got a couple possibilities. Me, right? It's me, is it? We keep, it's Tom and I.
Yeah. We haven't even, we're getting.
Yes.
And of
We
course,
got a couple days possible.
yeah, and we also have ad hoc committees as.
Oh, right.
I mean, I don't feel comfortable being removed from the finance committee. I don't know how that came about. Considering the fact that the finance committee hasn't accomplished anything, there's so much work to do. Considering the state of the financials of the organization, I'm concerned there by that move, and I feel like it's a move to retrench, to go backwards. And this organization has a history of doing that. So let's talk about it. Why am I being removed from the finance committee?
Well, I'm doing some shaking up of the committees. And
I
we
don't-
have a new person in the mix.
I don't know how John is qualified to be on the finance committee. He's not a finance guy. So I'm a little concerned about the organizational oversight, where we're going.
It's not really oversight. It's just, what the purpose of the committee is to take that hour of time
Do
to
something
focus
useful.
on one particular item as opposed to a general conversation here at the board. So if we had our policy discussion and an finance one and an hour safety one, our meetings would be excruciatingly long. And
I don't understand the relevance of the point you're making.
what I'm saying is, it is just a way for us to kind of funnel some information that can come to the board.
Why is it your
So it's
job to
not
fund
oversight.
information?
The finance committee is not creating the budget. It's just to gather information to bring to the board to kind of distill what needs.
For the past 3 years, what information has the finance committee provided that's useful?
I guess I'm not understanding what is not. The finance committee is not to run the finances of the district.
Right.
No, but we're actually trying to find something useful here. We have a comment.
What is not working?
We've
Just put
only had-
together a long.
First of all, we've only had 2 meetings.
But
And,
it's,
there's a higher expectation now because we have increased taxes by 8%. I expect more as a taxpayer.
what is it that you think can be accomplished by you?
Yeah, well, a discussion can be the start. That helps.
But we also have discussions here, because the
Not
decisions are not made at the committee level. The committee is not making decisions.
No, but the committee is useful in navigating the information and determining what's useful.
It's sort of making it something that we can take in a conversation at the board level. Yes, that is true.
Which doesn't really occur, does it?
What is it? that
In
you're not
regards to
getting?
finance. My objective in the point of my email was showing the community that we are attempting to be transparent and be able to pick up on financial matters in advance. We're not looking to go back into old methods where we are not anticipating our needs financially. Not only is this just in terms of competent financial management, it also shows good governance, transparency. So I am thinking that the finance committee hasn't even started, hasn't accomplished anything, and I'm not sure why I'm being removed from it, considering so much more has to be done.
What is it that the,
I clearly expressed it in communications with you in regards to things need to change. We need to talk about being more forward-looking, being able to anticipate our needs in future years. Here's a prime example. When I wanted to bring in the health insurance consortium to have a chat, everyone's like, oh, they can't do anything from every direction, can't do anything, that's not true, it's just a learning opportunity. But that is not true. Superintendents do have the ability to reduce the amount of the burden on an annual basis that the health insurance consortium requests. Therefore, there is a degree of control. Therefore, there is absolutely opportunity to provide long-term planning and incremental planning on financial matters. Therefore, I am confused and I'm not sure where we are headed in this situation. It doesn't make sense.
If you think, so, but if, for example, you think we should not be in a consortium, or, no, I'm just, let me finish. If you are not on the finance committee, anybody who's not on the finance committee believes or feels that we should change health insurance consortium options, I don't know, or there's not a, you can ask for that at any time, which is what actually happened. And I brought in the person and we had conversation and information. So it doesn't mean that you're not going to get the information or have a request. For example, John has questions about some policies, and we go back and get the information and have discussions at policy, and then we bring it back. It doesn't mean that anybody at the table has less say, and then the subcommittee just does, sometimes does some legwork. But I'm concerned if there's a thought that two board members are going to drive the direction of the district, that's not the role of the subcommittee. The subcommittee is to receive information and or put things on the table.
I mean, I think
For the full
the subcommittee could help establish expectations for financial communications
How,
and how they would be staggered. I mean, what did I say when I voted on Preston?
I
said
don't
we
understand
continue to
what-
build trust.
We've
First
had
and
this
foremost,
conversation.
trust.
we had this conversation before. What information do you want that you're not getting? You get all of the information on the conditions of account every month. Every month, you have it right there. We
Why
could
don't,
talk about
why
it.
don't we talk about a methodology that is able to be read by a good percentage of the voters, right? First and foremost, can your population actually interpret the information? That's valuable. Do they know what it means? Wow, that would be amazing, right? How do we get to the point where we have clear financial objectives when people generally understand what we're talking about? I would love to get
I
there.
think that happened during this budget season.
It did. It absolutely did.
And that's the direction that we've been heading in.
I
Did you
would like
attend?
to make sure we're
Did you
going.
you were on the finance committee
I was.
and you went to meetings? What were meetings like? How many meetings did you go
They
to?
didn't have any organization. They're not where I wanted them to be.
Well, where you wanted them to be, but what were they like? Like, what do you do at a finance meeting? What do you do at a finance meeting? I'm just wondering.
I don't know.
I can tell you what I do at a policy meeting. What do you do at finance meetings? Is there like a
I
topic?
don't know. It was
Is
like
there-
10 minutes of conversation about random stuff. And then we were like, all right, I guess I'll run the condition of accounts. And we'll ask questions about changes.
So we went through transfer, if there are any significant budget transfers. And it also depends on the time of the year. We've had these discussions at different times of the year. So we'll have more audit conversations about the audit and as we move forward in this time of the year. We talked about transfers. We talked about the conditions of account. We're not gonna go through line by line of every condition of
I don't
account.
want to go.
Well, you did want to do that.
I want explanations for the variance.
I did talk about staffing needs and changes and what that could do to the budget. And as a matter of fact, that was something that you did not want to speak about. But that does impact the finances of what we might need to consider in August if we didn't fill certain positions. So those are the things that were affecting the budget. That's for us to come and say to you, here are some things that are coming up that could affect the budget. So the condition, the way the conditions of accounts is presented, that is
how school accounting occurs. We can't change the way that's presented.
I mean, Rick Timms did.
He did a presentation, but again, you need to add people to my staff and we can't afford that. I don't
I'm
have
not, I'm
time
not looking
to
for,
have a person make presentations when the information is there and you can ask questions and we've given you questions. You had your financial training. We can do another one. You can come in and sit down with Karen and me. Any questions that you have, if you feel that you're not getting the information.
I'm not concerned about this.
But you're saying that we're not giving you the information that you need. And
I'm not concerned
And
about
again-
this stuff.
this is problematic because you're giving the impression that Karen and I are not doing our jobs. You're giving a public statement as a board member that we are not doing our jobs, and that is not the case.
You're giving a public statement that you're retrenching, not willing to listen to the community or provide.
I never said it.
No, I think so. I would like to continue to.
What are you hearing someone saying they're not willing to listen to the community, Tom?
I would like, so, all right, I don't want to be on a committee if I'm not on the finance committee. I think the task is pointless at that point. Because we have, I'm not interested. First of all,
Facilities, you don't want to be on the facilities?
no, if I'm not on the finance committee, I'm not going to be on the facilities committee. Because I have to look at priorities. And I have to take very seriously the actions that this board has nearly considered taking under the circumstances of what we requested. And I'm actually quite appalled. So therefore, I will not be on any committees. And I'm gonna look objectively to determine if this organization is leading with good communications, thoughtful communications that are concise and clear, very easy for the public to interpret, and show that we are being responsible with the 8% increase, because it is not over yet. It will continue to be a fight. And if I'm seeing that there's a retrenchment, if I'm seeing that we don't respect the community came out and gave us money, I work. No, thank you.
What, I have a question. So we have a budget, 17.23 million, 17.2 million. That includes the 8% increase in tax levy. There is no way, unless the board voted, for us to overspend that.
Yeah, I know.
We have discussed in the finance committee, that is a best guess, just like when you think about your home budget, you might budget X number of dollars for your automobile expenses, and then all of a sudden you have an unexpected expenditure, and you may need to cut back in a different area and transfer money over to fix your car. There will be transfers within that budget. That is the operational purview of if the transfers are 15,000 or less, minor transfers. If they're bigger, we will come talk to the board through the subcommittee about why we recommend these transfers. But the bottom line is, we can't go over the budget. So the community said approved the budget. They approved that budget. And if we don't go over the budget, then we have been responsibly meeting that. So again, I'm concerned about your public statements that you feel that we are not properly managing our expenditures within that budget.
I'm not,
It is a very
I'm just expecting.
inflammatory
I'm
statement.
not making that statement.
You
I'm saying that there should be a heightened sense of responsibility considering what's been accomplished.
There is a heightened sense of responsibility.
But I haven't seen it.
You,
Because I would like to continue to build trust. I'd like to continue to be objective and show quality information. Information that people can interpret, people understand
so you have
consistently
to have three people of the superintendent's cabinet in this room
Okay,
that are responsible for managing their budgets, and your statement is that don't trust any of us in this room,
No,
and, no, let me,
that statement,
let me finish for a second, please, I let you finish. I'm telling you how I interpret that on behalf of my team, and, I'm gonna tell you that there has been some public discussion and scrutiny about stress and turnover that's placed on administrators. This is a perfect example of that, a statement from a board member that you don't trust the superintendent's cabinet.
I'm-
It's
I mean,
concerning to me.
you made a leap, right, in your assessment.
I'm
All
not
I'm looking for, making a leap in your assessment, all I've been asking for is clear communications to the public in a bite-sized manner that allow us to see what's going on more often, right? That's pretty standard stuff globally across many organizations, of all types and forms. So it's clearly not a statement of, expressing trust or, you know, just digging into what's happening internally. It's really just about bite-sized, high-quality communications, which we all agreed on multiple times, over and over again, that they're highly valuable.
Can I ask you a question, Tom? You've been on the board for 2 years.
Yeah.
In that time, have you seen a school district that you think does a better job of communicating financially on a regular basis?
Greenwich.
Greenwich. Any others?
Voorheesville.
Voorheesville. Okay.
How often does Greenwich
Yeah.
communicate financially?
Where do you see their,
It's far more helpful, I think.
How are
to
you
tell
seeing
people,
their
like, these are the things I see about Greenwich or Voorheesville that I think are better than what we're saying. I think that's more helpful than to say here that what we need are simple communications that people can understand. Everybody wants everybody to understand what we're putting out, but we can't control what
Yeah.
people do and don't understand, and we don't know what everybody does and doesn't
I get it.
understand, right?
I love
But
the
if you see something
conversation.
you think is better and you say, I think this is better, now that gives them a target to look at and say, okay, what is it about this you think is better? Now we can have a conversation about something that can be productive, that can say, oh, well, maybe we can do this, or there are reasons we can't do that, but whatever, at least.
Right,
At
you know,
least
if
we can know
there's
what
a
the
work
target is.
product that you would like to see, give us an example of that,
I
but
have.
again,
I
No,
love
no,
the
you
New
have
York, I
not.
love the New York State Comptroller's fiscal health analysis.
right?
And then
They-
explaining
they-
variations from that.
They compiled that,
I know, I get it.
so, and I sent
So-
that to you.
No, I sent it to you.
No, I sent it to you, I emailed it to you when you came out, I emailed it to the board. Yes. I did, I emailed it to the board about the physical health and stresses. I think I put a note in it in my board update. But that's an annual report. So if you have something, a format that another district puts out that the board would like to consider, well, you know, of us to consider as a report out,
So the
then we
reason
can
why,
do
Yeah,
that.
the
some
reason
good
why I like that
examples.
report is because it's identified what's important. Right? And since it was identified at the highest level, that these items are trackable and relevant from a big picture perspective, then it's a great template to deploy locally because it's already commonly accepted
So
in its own way, shape or
the
form.
fiscal health report, if you recall, gave us good scores. It was the external factors, voter approval, and our tax base and our lack of growth that were external factors that were out of our control. But hold on. And so again, I'm not sure when you take those other factors that are healthy, that you want us to spend, so you want to talk.
I don't get the relevance of the statement.
But the relevance of the statement is if we're doing well, you want us to spend, so time is money. Time is money. We have an understaffed business office, it runs highly efficient, but it's understaffed. So time is money. Do you want us to spend time tracking things that we have good output and good results? Or do you want us to spend our time on maintaining, and we've improved a lot of systems and efficiencies? And so I guess
Let me,
we've done everything to put us on a sustainable course. That has been a 3-year process that I started and there's but I think, it's an implied lack of confidence that we're going in the right direction and that we have built
I
here.
mean, we're always building.
I can't speak for before me, but for the 3 years, you should always be building. And if you recall Rick Tim's presentation, it was 10 years of not collecting allowable tax levy that put us in a situation. It was worrying about a lot of other factors instead of really looking at collecting the appropriate allowable tax levy. It's not improper spending. It was that we are short revenue.
Yeah. I
That I can't control CPI and
I'm
inflation.
not looking to look backwards. I'm looking to look forwards and to make sure that there's good bite-sized information that's relevant that can be used internally and externally. I'm not looking to evaluate what was. I'm looking to be glued into what will be. And let me give you, if we were talking about examples involved in things that are items of note, one of the things that have concerned me is in this budget process, and, you know, the decision bringing Rick Tim's late in the spring and things of that nature.
It wasn't late in the spring.
It was kind of, it was in
No.
the finance committee, we talked about it.
It was in the fall, early fall, and I communicated, go back and watch the videos. And you can ask him, his process is to build the long-range plan parallel to the budget, which starts in
All
January.
right.
Decision was not made in
Let me talk
spring.
about something that has been,
Well, I just want to
I-
correct the information so
Um,
people don't
I
think
also
that.
want to say that as a meeting piece in our agenda, this is a conversation about committees, and we have strayed very, very far from that.
fine.
And I understand that you have concerns about not being on the finance committee, but the finance committee is not in the driver's seat as far as how the finances of this district,
Who is in the driver's
superintendent, the business office, board, the whole process.
in the driver's seat?
Well,
Is it?
we authorize.
By law, we are.
Yeah.
Finance training tells us we are the CFOs of the school. We are in the driver's seat of
So,
finance.
so one of the things that I considered when this bothered me was the fact that we didn't know the exact gap, we didn't know the exact need with the first round of cuts and changes to the organization. That bothers me, right? We had gone through a budget meeting and there were people who were moved and changed, but then we were realizing that we had a larger gap that we had to fill. So decisions were made without great information, quite frankly. And so when we look at those details, that does bother me because we should have more complete information when decisions get made.
For somebody who doesn't want to be tripped up by something in the past that's going forward,
That's fine.
that's where we're at.
But I do see a
I'm
need.
actually going to go back to the agenda,
Yeah.
and
go
it
ahead.
is committees. You choose to not be on any committee?
Nope.
John, would you be comfortable being on the facilities committee, or is that something, or?
Okay, we're,
Sure. Okay. All right, so that would leave Jen, you and I on the policy committee, John,
yeah, we're vice
on
president.
the finance, and on the facilities, Jen and John. Marissa, the finance committee with John.
Yes.
And those are good conversations, but we also have opportunities for them to be heard, and we can.
That's fine.
It's kind of twofold. One, just so that I'm aware, and maybe everybody's aware, with these follow open meeting laws.
Yeah.
So technically, I mean,
Anybody can
any
come.
of us could still come, right? So like if I was curious about what's going
Yeah,
on,
we have to
like,
be careful,
no.
we have to be careful of any of us come because
Okay,
there's a
that's
quorum
what I
of
was
us
curious.
that you
Okay.
get into a problem, so.
Got it.
Just
But the public is.
first, but the public, anybody who's free to attend.
I'll ask more questions on that.
Yeah.
And then,
We have to ask the lawyer if you wanted to attend one, but you
Well, you would
aren't.
just have to notice it as a meeting. You would have to.
What?
Yeah.
notice it.
So, anyway.
Yeah, so I have more questions on that, but back to later. My second question is the 4 committees that are formed, is that just standard for this board? Where does that come from? Can there be additional committees formed or?
Actually, we probably the oversight is that we should have an audit committee.
Okay,
And if we should add that to the list because that needs to be all of us.
And is there a sports committee as well? Or is that not considered?
So, one, because,
As needed.
the superintendent, Mr. Facine at the time, Dr. Facine wanted to, kind of, put our arrangement on steroids and wanted to change kind of our merged relationship. And so we worked to that, and then that kind of faded away and, so. I
There's
mean,
not
that's
need
up to
for
the
it?
board, but I don't think at this point there,
We can create one at a later date.
It's kind of,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know that's like a topic that comes up a lot with the public is sports mergers and,
It-
and how,
it is,
how
I will
did we
say.
look at this? How did we decide this? How did, and I don't know if the role of the committee is helpful or not to,
my sense is that the mergers are, they come from the ground up to us. We don't create a situation that cause the merger to happen.
right?
So they come to us.
I think it could have been helpful if the public had come to those meetings to want to discuss those things. It would have saved us from spending an hour either listening to have a line of people with public comment, people upset they didn't have the time. But when we met, nobody came.
Right.
So it didn't serve any purpose. in
I
that
mean,
regard.
you could, if you wanted to, have an athletics committee and maybe just meet quarterly. We could have the athletic director come, talk about a little more in depth about kind of the season, where kind of what some of the talk is between the schools. You know, there has been some loose conversation about kind of modifying the legal kind of agreement. We basically all just pay a percentage of whatever we have on the team. And that's worked out fine, but, you know, I think if it does go down that road, we would definitely want the board to be involved in that, but. So you could just not make it a monthly ad hoc, maybe we could just make it 3 times a year. I don't even necessarily know if it needs to be quarterly, but maybe,
But with that
you know,
work day, something
yeah,
like that,
and
sports
kind of
is
just
right.
ahead of time, looking at proposed, mergers and or discussions. So that could work, we could try that if the board feels like that would be helpful. I would imagine Mr. Moore, would be happy to work on that.
Do you feel like that's helpful?
Yeah. He was giving me the 2 thumbs up out of the camera view.
So who's on that?
You.
It was, yeah, you and John.
So
Anybody?
I'm there to gather information because I don't have students here. I don't know how some of the stuff gets communicated out, so that helps me to understand someone has questions. So I use the committee to gain information for myself or so that, share information out. And so I'm happy to do that. We can do it maybe biannually or.
Yeah, it takes maybe 3 times a year, a little bit. Once a season.
Yeah, like end of the
Yeah,
season is the
yeah,
best time
and I
to do
think
it. You can
in
update the
preparation
season,
for
talk about what the next season looks like and
And what like the future,
What-
like
what-
upcoming nursery deadlines, what it might look like, to put together a tentative schedule. So we'll just keep that one, so.
So that does give everybody who's 2 and 3 committee assignments. And we do have John.
And the bylaw for the audit committee is what it's the,
But I think we should be.
it probably should be listed there.
We'll list it on the August one, just have it formally, but that's typically what we've done. So we. Yeah, that was. Okay, so we'll add that, so for the next agenda.
So just to recap, so we have finance, facilities, policy. And I will need to, although we'll be at some conference, again, we'll be seeing each other, but we do need to have a quick policy committee. I'll talk about that. Safety. And then-
Safety, and then athletics. We can have further discussions.
No, I'm not interested.
So what was that?
I said. Conversation.
Oh, about the norms or?
Not any participants.
Oh, okay. So just, I mean, I guess they're staff, but I was just gonna say that, building conditions survey is $34 million of work on it, so, or 24 million or 34? I think it was 24.
So is that in the facilities?
So that will be part of it. That's our first task is to look at the, plan we put together.
And I did think.
No, I'm not interested. I can't engage without seeing finance. I can't. It's just, you have to know step one, step two, step three.
We provide all of that. I mean, you're getting all of that. The full board gets all the information, I think, just for our new board member, just to understand that that the subcommittees doesn't mean the full board is locked out, just important.
So moving on to personnel, we do have 19.1 advisor appointment. Did anybody bring to 30 plus names here? Does anybody have any names that need to be? Entertain a motion to approve the following advisor appointments for the 2025, 25, or 26 school year as presented.
So moved.
By John. Second. Second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hands. Motion carries. Entertain a motion to approve the following coaching. Does anybody, before I start, that does anybody wish to remove it from the place? Entertain a motion to approve the following coaching appointments for the 25 to the 26 school year. We have Kevin Keys, varsity women's soccer, Emily Smith, JV girls soccer. And if there is not enough participation at the JV level, she can coach modified. Trevor LeBlanc, varsity boys soccer, Stacy Rich, varsity field hockey, Connor West, assistant varsity football. So. John. Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Entertain a motion to approve the following appointments. Catherine Meehan, ESY, physical therapist, effective July 1st, 2025. Aaron Carr, ESY, speech, effective July 1st, 2025. Stacy Rich, extended school year, occupational therapist, effective July 1st, 2025. And Danielle Felino, athletic director, effective July 1st, 2025, for the 25-26 school year.
So moved.
John?
Second.
Second, Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. Entertain a motion to accept the following resignations. Paulette Slater, is a bus driver, resigning effective December 30th, 2025, for the purpose of retirement. Rebecca Cram, cafeteria worker, effective July 2nd, 2025. And Ashley Burns, elementary special education, effective July 1st.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. Entertain a motion to approve the following retirement payouts of sick days and incentives. Paula Bourgeois, $10,367.50. Elaine O'Malley, $26,457.50. Don Parker, $32,975. Travis Steyer, $767.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Jen. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carries. I've asked, we did have an addendum in this, my second, we have one else item. But we also, we added,
Policy, first read.
we had policy. So, to the action items.
Let's go.
Yeah. Should be, can we bother, some of these, we should
I
separate.
think we should separate them.
To approve the second readings of policy 56 to 85, maximum temperature first floor buildings.
So moved.
By John.
Second.
Second by Jen. Attention, concern.
Good vote.
Anybody else? Questions? All those in favor, except for the second, reading, please.
Yeah.
Entertain a motion to approve the second reading of policy 7513, medication and personal care items.
So moved.
Second.
John and Jen. I know there's a.
Well, we're gonna
Find
figure
the
out if there was a
definition.
definition of medication.
I thought it was the other.
That's the other one which hasn't gone back to policy.
Oh.
We haven't. The life
Right.
threatening.
Was it?
Was it?
Or-
I think it was this one.
I said personal last, that's my.
I think it's this one.
We actually,
It is this.
yeah, we should have omitted this.
This is.
Yeah.
Oh, it should be
Yes.
56.
Definition of medication. So we did not need a policy. We should have,
Scratch the wrong one.
yes, we did. So those will both be, and I apologize.
That's okay.
We,
And I didn't have this with me.
yeah,
Oh, because it's slow.
Yes. yes, you were on your game.
Okay.
Yeah, and we,
We're not.
and so, yes, so that's an example, the subcommittee just would kind of do some prep work and then bring recommendations.
So what happened?
Yes, table.
Oh,
Motion to,
did we move it? We moved that, so we moved the table.
no, we postponed it till after. Till I
Refer to policy committee.
refer back to the policy.
Yes, we should be before our next meeting. We should be able to have that, we have our full committee.
So we do have, okay, parliamentary procedure. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Where we want to either table or postpone, or do we not accept? How do we accept?
I don't know. Can we just move to refer to policy and
Okay.
that motion?
So amend the motion to move the policy back to policy committee.
Policy. next.
Let's start with you.
Yeah.
So I have a motion to refer back.
Yeah. So,
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Jen. All those in favor of moving it back to policy committee for clarification on that.
Yes.
Motion carried five. So you got it.
I got it.
You got it.
tell me what I need.
Yeah, I apologize. They're very similar, those two. That was,
They're related.
Does this have to be read? Does it have to be read? So,
Well, if it's made available to the public.
all right. So entertain a motion to adopt the bond resolution as presented.
So,
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Jen. Any questions or concerns about?
numbers all matched what everybody voted for, so that's.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Motion carried five zero. And entertain a motion to approve the amended 2025-26 calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Jen. That had a change in the last week's school.
yeah, so there were two changes on that calendar. It was just bringing it up. See what- speak to it. properly. And I did, I think I had sent out a note to the board also with that information, but just to reiterate, the last week of school, usually only has the last couple of days, half days, but considering we've had 2 years in a row of excessive heat and having to go to half days, we have, by regulation, you have to have 180 days, 900 hours for elementary, 990 hours for junior, senior high school. We, with all that full week at half days, that does still may fall within the range, gives us 5 snow days. And so we should be fine. I just want to really be respectful of our families and parents of elementary children. It's one of the hardest things. It's harder than the snow day because it was a full week of people not, having a hard time with childcare. And so if I think we can do it ahead of time, I think it would be much more appropriate for everybody's planning purposes. We are working together, as I told you, as part of with our new communication service, is putting a nice full calendar together for families. So we wanted to have this updated. We also did add a third. We only had 2 parent-teacher conference days, half days for elementary, but because we have 1 or 2 classes that are going to be in the mid-20s, that would be pretty tight to get those in 2 half days. And we want to give flexibility again to our families. So we took away a superintendent's conference day in October so that we could have an extra half day. So just a few changes, but just trying to, give our families notice for our elementary students. So appreciate the consideration of the changes.
I just have one question.
Yeah.
This week is school testing, so morning and afternoon, so Monday, Tuesday.
Yes, this is just for the elementary, so it's noted a half day for elementary. So
Well, high school parents know we don't expect their kids to necessarily
Right.
have the afternoon.
right, high school is according to the test schedule. Typically, the last week, for the most part, is just the Regents schedule, which I think there was only 1 day that week that was morning and afternoon. The last week, there were others were just morning only and/or it's usually more makeup work. We don't have a lot of local exams. I think we had foreign language maybe on Monday, so Monday, Tuesday. But typically, those are class tests that are smaller, and we have those in air-conditioned rooms. So, that's the difference, is that we're able to do that for our students, but we can't. It's a lot of just
Can't do it
second
all on that.
floor. Right, it's just
Not yet.
it's very difficult, with some of those rooms on the second floor with the high ceilings to air condition those spaces. It's unfortunate, I wasn't here, so, hindsight's 2020, but when they were replacing all those HVAC units, all the rooms, it would have been, I don't know what the cost would have been, if it had been cost prohibitive to put in AC at the time, but it's something to be considered down the road. We'll see how it goes these next few years with this new pool, but it is whatever's practical. And you try to cool the spaces, and so I think we've done a pretty good job about the mandate of keeping it comfortable learning space.
Will the staff get half days as well?
No. But typically, there was 1 day when it was quite hot and we did allow people to leave early. And the 2 or 3 people that were, had to stay, they were proctoring, they were in the air conditioned room. So we just said, if you don't have obligations with students, you were giving them a choice. Some people want to work in the rooms and do that. Even we did that with our 12-month staff, so our facilities crew. So most of our offices have access to AC or for our clerical administrators, but our business office, but in the summer, our facilities crew works in high levels of heat, but when we know the heat index is going to be high, we, plan with Paul, and so a lot of times they may not work on the second floor. And then rooms that they might be working in, they move the air conditioning units around, so they're pretty good with, at staying hydrated. Sometimes I'll say no outdoors today. It is a little harder when school's in session, to be able to do that with the facilities crew, so there was that one day that we did, after kids went home, said gave people the option, so similar to a snow day, but, and the teachers appreciate those half days to close up their rooms, finish up their grading, make up work, those types of things, so. I think we've kind of got a pretty good. You never know.
Questions? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. We also did have an addendum that had using policy. I entertain a motion to approve the first reading of the following policy 73C, which is electronic devices. So,
Second.
motion.
So yes, as I mentioned, there's been, drips and drabs of this information coming out. As you know, the legislature approved it near the end of the school year, so we've been, hustling to try to get all the elements in place, and so we did a lot of, prioritizing, getting a short survey out to parents and students about, what their concerns would be about transitioning to the new plan, as well as, are there any concerns? How do they think the children will transition, really 7 through 12? I think our 6th grade, we included the 6th grade families and students, and they were a little confused because they don't have their access to their phones now, but we did want to include them. But I think for them, it'll be seen with probably the 8th graders. For the most part, I think, because it was being talked about in the media, most kids were somewhat prepared. Mr. Moore did meet with each grade level as well, talked about the Yonder pouches, giving them a little preview so they could have time to be thinking about it, ask the opportunity to ask questions, express concerns. And it's not required, but I think just as an added layer, if you're a parent, you may have gotten the email I sent out this morning of Parents Square, also to faculty, staff, and parents. K-12, just here's our draft policy, the board's, going to put this in place, and that we will have, the full procedures. We'll be putting those out to faculty, staff, parents, and students in our back to school materials. We'll be giving out some information. We just put in an order for the Yonder pouches and, kind of all the things that go with it. And I asked Mr. Moore to give the board just a brief presentation overview of what it'll look like in August, but I wanted to also at the same time, make sure that we have everything together, because so that we're ready to answer questions about it. So we'll have a Q&A we're putting together, with our communications team. So we'll be rolling that out, mid-August, and just so you'll kind of get a visual of what'll be happening. I would say about half the schools in the region are going to that, and others are taking some other routes that I think, are going to be hard to manage, so. And our teachers, are very much on board with that, so I think we'll be in good shape. And, Cambridge is already, they started last year, so I think our kids, they have a lot of crossover friendships with sports and everything else, so I think they've heard about it.
Is Cambridge going to be your good?
Yes.
So they have the same. Yeah. Questions for? So all those in favor of approving the first reading, Raises.
Oh, I forgot to add, I changed the vote, but we should have our policy done by August 1st. Sometimes that always doesn't happen. I don't think it's the end of the world, but I would like to try to be on schedule. So if we can make it work, we'll have, maybe a policy committee meeting in the next, 2 weeks. I would like to possibly, I'll have, Gina send out some dates and see if we can just have a quick special meeting to the week of the 28th, to vote on the policy. And we may have some personnel items too. We're just doing some new interviews and we want to try to hop on any hires people want to know that they're approved. So, usually we always have a special meeting or two, towards the end of the summer. So just want to let you know, we may try to squeeze that in for the next meeting.
To other business, we have an update on our food project.
Yes, I just wanted to include for you the timeline that was given to us. Karen, Paul, and I met with the architects and Schoolhouse today, just to kind of talk about preliminary items, plans. That'll be a topic for facilities committee along with the building condition survey. They gave us a few dates we came up with to run by the board members on the subcommittee. And so slow moving now. They're doing some field work right now on the roofs that came. Because of the heat, they just do morning. So they did some work on the primary building. Now they'll be working on the main building probably, and probably take at least 2 more visits. The only information right now we have is that it's pretty certain that all the spray foamed roofs are considered hot with asbestos, so we'll need an abatement. But we'll talk about that more once they get done with the field work, and we would brief the subcommittee and then the full board as well. We'll be in the loop on that, but definitely looking very optimistically at being able to break ground for our next summer. So that's great. So I just wanted to make the board aware of the schedule, and also because now we are in the process of a new project, Mosaic and Schoolhouse will just be updating just the agreements, because there are new agreements needed with the new project numbers for their work as well. So that's pretty much it.
It's great that, that's an accelerated schedule
Yes.
for us, right? That's,
Even said that the SED. So that was so much faster
Yes.
than our last project.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's why it's good for that.
Yes, and it's kind of some good timing, I think,
Yeah.
project wise. Mark Rivers with Schoolhouse said that, so Schoolhouse is our construction management company, and they said that they feel that the timeline for this will be very advantageous for the bidding process. For,
Very fun.
yeah, late winter, early spring bidding. So that we should be in really good shape. I think early on when they came and talked to the board, they talked about maybe co-op bidding, but that's really fallen by the wayside. Over the past year, they said that a lot of schools have not been interested in that, but they think that our timeline is very favorable, so that we should do well with the bidding. Yeah, and so they're also, we talked about doing some bids for hazmat. Kind of dry conversation, but so the hazmat for the abatement. And actually it's good news that they think they might have at least 4 companies. Yeah, that we see get bids from instead of 3, so at least 4. Yeah, so good news so far.
I should have a quick question, because I've again been out of the loop. There's leaks in the gym somewhere. Is there like what's holding us over until next year? Like, what, is there something that they've done that to do? I'm just curious, because I know people were like joking that there were buckets, and I'm like,
Yeah.
is that real?
Yeah. Unfortunately,
Sure.
we have a very rudimentary catchment system
Okay,
that they fashioned that, so what happens in a lot of cases is that, just like in our houses.
Yeah.
Where the water is coming down is not where the water's coming in on your roof, and that leak in the gym has eluded us for several
Yeah.
years. In terms of they cannot figure out where it's traveling from, which was another reason, not sure, kind of where you came into the kind of the narrative, but the, doing only part of the roofs, we really deliberated over doing just a portion of the roofs or doing all of the roofs, but if you don't do them all, where the seat, like the old roofs and then it can leak into the new. And so we just figured it was best to.
whatever's rigged up, pull this over.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if it's still there, but yeah, they have their eye on it, and there's a couple other spots that they have, and we have some other moist areas where, sometimes we have some tiles fall.
He did buy the person repairs and we need
Patching.
opportunity for the board to
Well, I was going over all my notes from this past year. I always take notes on like public comment and stuff. And so I just kind of wrote down some of the things that popped up a lot and I thought I'd share them. Because I think it's helpful to think of going forward. So something that came up a lot was that, the people of our community value more discussion by the board. And before we vote on things, they like to hear, our thoughts on it and they like to hear discussion about topics. And I kind of like that too, like maybe at the prior to when we're going to vote the month before, to be engaging in more discussion about things that are coming up. Of course, more stakeholder involvement always comes up and more community feedback opportunities. There was a lot of positive feedback about budget, the budget process and the long-term planning. Our programs came up a lot, and they're clearly very important to the community. Another thing was a lot of positive feedback about teachers came up. A lot of discussion about sports and mergers and those decisions were important to families as well. But those were the main things that when I looked over came up, numerous times. So I thought for us going forward, just to keep that in the back of our minds.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
Transparency. Where's communication?
Well, that's communicated. So that's my opportunity to be heard.
Thank you. I wanted to share a business journey and welcome to Marissa. I enjoyed graduation a lot, in spite of the last minute change of venue. I wanted to say, I don't have a kid in this class, but I had a kid who graduated the year before and a kid who graduates the year after. So these kids are pretty intimately connected to my life. And it's such an impressive group of kids. And this place is a huge part of it, and why it's the impressive group of kids that it is. And I don't think I could thank the staff enough for the job that they do, what they've done for 13 years with those kids, for 14 years so far with my kids. And it's just remarkable to see the young people they've turned into, and they're going out into the real world. As if the rest of this isn't the real world, but I'm so impressed with them. They'll be missed, I think, probably by everybody in the building. There are other great kids coming too, so thank you to the staff, which other two of those guys. And I was gonna call out a particular staff member a little bit because 2 days before graduation, not a member of the facilities crew I saw outside eating the beds out around the front lawn. And probably won't be in trouble from outing Mrs. McPhee that it was her out there doing the work. Of course she would, right? So, at about 7:30 at night. That's the kind of dedication I have here. It's amazing. So, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Next, things to remember. We have our regular meeting in August 13th and the FFA appreciation tour on the 20th. Almost the.
And we also, this weekend, have rural schools, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So, Tom, you're going,
Oh, yeah.
right? Tom, Marissa, and, Jen. Excited, increasing the numbers. I love having board members attend with me, so it's great. Thank you.
I also think we should add, I don't have a calendar in front of me. I think it's Tuesday, the 26th, I believe. If that's Tuesday, I should log a calendar. Is the back to school picnic. So it'd be great if everybody.
August 26th.
Yeah, August 27th.
Thinking about that already.
We're gonna have a Board of Education.
So it would be great if everybody was there.
Yeah, and we'll have to,
Can you cook?
we'll.
Yes, but
I think that's the day.
it will be from 5 to 7.
Yep, we'll figure it out.
And yeah, I'll.
Katie and Will have already volunteered to pick up where Kim left off with things like the plan.
You know that.
We did know that.
I'm like, huh?
Please, that.
He is so funny. He's so funny.
We get a little costume for him.
What was called? Like, I'll learn.
Gonna put it on your calendar now. Well, what about a little?
These are conversations.
Sure, we will.
Let's.
That's scary.
We shall.
Do you want to have public comment? Do you have any comment?
Somebody has to say.
You're the only public answer. Okay, but we do have the need to move into executive session for the discussion, the employment history of a particular person.
Yeah.
So,
Anticipated
No action.
no action.